What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/BlackholeRevenge. Alright, the story's called Pro-Divorce. A throwaway, as this might not make me very popular, even in Pro-Revenge, this is a cross post. This all happened to me a few years ago. I told a friend the story of my divorce and I was told to share. Started a few years ago. I thought we were happy. We were your usual suburban professional couple, financially secure, healthy, good sex life, 2 kids, 14 female and 9 male at the time. I thought we had a healthy social life. We were going through one of your typical married couple rough patches. Both of us were working long hours, not spending enough time together. We were going through some developmental problems with my son, and tensions in the house were running a little high. I noticed that she was spending a lot more time on her phone texting with her girlfriends. I didn't think much of it. I started making a much more concerted effort to get out of work when I could. But over the course of a few weeks, the gulf just kept getting wider. I ended up accidentally finding some messages when I charged up an old iPad for my son to use. Her Facebook Messenger was still logged in, and there were a lot of highly questionable messages with a guy from her hometown who I will call Jim Bob Cooter. The messages weren't completely inappropriate, but I could tell there were quite a few missing based on the times and context of the messages. I made a mental note to keep an eye on this and went about trying to fix things up. The next day, after I took the day off to knock out some projects that I thought would make her happy, and left her some sweet notes reminding her of how much I appreciated her, she was once again in the corner of the living room texting her girlfriends. I took the boy's iPad to the office, opened up Facebook Messenger, and watched in real time as my wife tore me down. Her and Jim Bob Cooter were making fun of me. All of my flaws, insecurities, and secrets I entrusted to my partner were now fodder for her and Jim Bob Cooter. Not only that, but while there wasn't outright sexting, there was a sexual undertone to the whole conversation, especially when she was bashing my performance in the sack. I managed to take some screenshots, but missed a good bit of the messages because as the conversation was unfolding, she was deleting them. I wasn't emotionally capable of confronting her. I stayed in the office until she was asleep and had a couple of drinks. I took off the next day and spent some time soul-searching, drinking, and trying to figure out what to do. The wife came home and wanted to know what was wrong, and I just copped out and told her I had a bad day. A couple of minutes later, I was watching the iPad as the train wreck kept unfolding. So began a couple solid weeks of taking screenshots, drinking, and detaching myself from the relationship. I knew there was no going back from this. The messages were now overtly sexual, with my wife completely into it, and Jim Bob Cooter was sprinkling in I love yous. I consulted a lawyer and got my options and started moving forward. Here's where everything got absolutely surreal. Watching the messages, I found out Jim Bob Cooter was coming to town to spend a weekend of quality time with my wife in a pretty nice hotel. I was missing a good bit of the info. They must have had a phone conversation about it at some point, but I was able to infer enough to get the when and where. Sure as crap, the next day, the wife is buttering me up and wanting to take a spa weekend with the girls to relax, and when she gets back, we can really focus on our marriage. I go with it all the way. It's the greatest idea she's ever had, and I'll do anything to get us back on track. I get with the lawyer and have him draft a strong separation agreement stating that she would move out, she would get weekend visitation, no child support in the interim until the divorce is final. After all this, most of my feelings for her are completely gone, and I'm just seething with anger like I've never felt before. D-Day arrives. I take the day off work, I withdraw half of any money in any accounts we are joined on, leave her half alone. I had already redirected my paycheck to a new bank. I close our money market account and get a cashier's check for her half and deposit my half in my new account. I stop at Office Max and print out about 75 pages of Facebook Messenger screenshots, and I kill time because I don't want to be at home. She texts me that she's taking off and that she loves me. I tell her to have fun. I show up at the hotel at about 8:30 and call my wife's phone from the lobby. It goes straight to voicemail. They are probably already at it. Whatever. I walk up to the front desk and ask if I can use the phone to be connected with Jim Bob Cooter's room. It rings 3 times and he picks up. Hello? Jim Bob Cooter, can you send my wife down to the lobby, please? I don't know what you're talking about, bro. Okay then, I guess I'll have to call Mrs. Jim Bob Cooter and get her down here. Totally a bluff. I knew he was married and I knew her first name, but that was it. Oh my god. You got 5 minutes. Not even 2 minutes later, my wife comes walking out of the elevator looking a little flustered. I sit her down in the corner of the lobby. She starts spewing BS saying it's not what it seems, etc., etc. I'm not here to argue. The things that are said in this pile of papers are what's going on. The only way I'm not giving a copy of this to daughter, your parents, and emailing it to everyone we know is if you move out immediately. Wife was very prideful. Daughter was going through a rebellious teen phase, and her knowing probably would have forever killed their relationship. Wife was also her parents' golden child, and she always worried about what they thought of her. I didn't have much leverage, and shame was my only card to play. Also, her professional life is built up around her image, so I knew she would protect it at all costs. I can't believe this. This is a check for half of the money market account. I've withdrawn my half of the money from all the other joint accounts. You should have more than enough to get a place. She starts to cry a little. I could almost see the different thoughts and waves of emotions going through her. But now was the time to keep pressing. Here is a separation agreement that I think is more than fair, considering what's going on. I'm gonna need you to look this over, sign it, and leave it at the house when you get your stuff. Do you want to look through these screenshots? No. Okay, go have fun with Jim Bob Cooter. Do not come back to the house or I'm going to send this. I hold up the ream of screenshots to everyone. I bounce out of the lobby and I can hear her start to have a breakdown. I get to the car, drive off to a parking lot, and have my own crying rage fit. Previously, I would have cried in front of her and yelled and whatnot, but I managed to get my crap together enough to pull it off. I don't know what she did that night or over the weekend. She texted and called over and over wanting to talk. I just turned the phone off, and by the time Monday afternoon rolled around, there were movers getting her stuff and she delivered the agreement. I let her have a talk with the kiddos, basically saying, Mommy and Daddy need some time apart. We still love you, etc., etc. Standard divorce talk. After a week, she wants to have a real talk for the first time. I oblige her because I've already got my crap together and I've got an idea of what I want, but I should hear her out. She's so sorry, she wants another chance, she wants her family back, she'll do anything, she's on her knees crying into my lap. I have no intention of ever taking her back. I tell her she needs to set up marriage counseling on her own at a time that works for me. I tell her that I can't live with her, but she should be around the children to try to maintain a relationship with them. So starts our new normal of her coming over to the house, cooking and having dinner with the kids 3 nights a week. She always saved me a plate. I made myself scarce. Her cleaning the house and doing the kids' laundry, then heading back to her place. We went to counseling. It consisted of her working through her issues with a therapist, trying to figure out why she did it, her begging for forgiveness, and me stoically playing the victim. I was never going to give her another chance. All I wanted to do was kill time, establish myself as the primary caregiver to the kids, and establish her as not having residency in the house. After a few months, I go to my own therapist and get diagnosed with depression and PTSD. I ask my work if it's possible to go to part-time for the foreseeable future to deal with personal issues, and it's no big deal. After 6 months of therapy, I told her that I couldn't forgive her right now, and that I wanted an amicable divorce, but she is still the love of my life, and maybe someday we could give it another try. She was devastated, but agreed to the divorce if I promised to try again someday. Once the divorce was filed, I needed the kids to want to stay with me. I left a Google search for how to survive your wife's infidelity up on the shared PC at home, and I left some printed out infidelity articles not so hidden in the kitchen. My daughter found them and came to me crying. I told her she wasn't supposed to find those, that mom made a mistake, that mom still loves her, and that I would always be here for her. My daughter, who used to hold my wife in such high regard, now wouldn't talk to her without screaming, and it crushed her. Not surprisingly, when the court needed statements from the kids a few months later, little brother followed big sister's lead and they both wanted to stay with dad in the house they grew up in. When the divorce was finalized, I got the house, had to buy out some of her equity, but that's okay. I got primary custody of the kids. I got awarded generous child support due to the differences in our income due to me working part-time. Now, for the last 2 years, I've gotten to live in the house with my kids, work part-time, get the now ex to subsidize it for me, and when she takes the kids over the weekends, I get to have my fun with Tenderellas and some friends with benefits I've cultivated. In the eyes of my kids, I'm the patron saint of fatherhood for taking the high road and always being there. In the eyes of my ex, I'm the one that got away that she will always pine for. And I get the bonus of having her come over for sex whenever I want it by dangling that carrot of maybe getting back together. But that is never going to happen. Of the different forms of cheating, this is definitely the worst. Okay, it's not just the whole physical aspect of, oh, I just got horned up and wanted to have fun, but it's emotional, and she talks crap about him and uses stuff said in confidence against him. That's the worst kind. At least he's got something good going on for him now. Not much else to say there other than that was a very well navigated divorce. Alright, since we read a story from BlackholeRevenge, I figured we might want to brighten it up with some wholesomeness sprinkled in. That's right, these last 2 stories are going to be happy stories that will cause you happiness. And the first one's called First Real Christmas. My daughters came to live with us in late November 2004 from a crappy foster care situation and living in a van with their drug-addled prostitute biological mom before that. Things were still very new to them. They were still adjusting to their new home and were amazed at the simple things like eating, playing with toys that belonged to them, and having nice clothes to wear. When the Christmas tree went up, they didn't have any idea what it was. They thought it was pretty and enjoyed decorating it and looking at it, but other than that, no clue. When we talked about Santa, they were clueless about that as well. They couldn't believe that such a thing was possible. They were 4 and 5 years old at this point and had never experienced a Christmas of any consequence. We took them to the nice mall for a visit to Santa. They asked, "Dad, that man really brings us presents?" Of course, I explained and told them the whole ordeal. I was really bothered by the fact that they came from a foster home and never got a single present, a tree, or any of the traditions associated with it. When we picked up the girls from the foster home, the foster mom didn't give us anything except a bag of men's tube socks. No toys, dolls, nothing. Gradually, stacks of presents gathered under the tree, and on Christmas Eve, we put out milk and cookies for Santa. They were very skeptical about the whole ordeal and were questioning the whole down the chimney thing and trying to find holes in my story. We were listening to Christmas music and reading stories, and they kept running to the front window. I thought they were looking for Santa. Finally, I said, "Santa won't come till later, after you're asleep." The girls said,
"No doubt, we're looking for the policemen. They always come get us at Christmas."
Sad. Anyway, when the girls went to sleep, I put on my big work boots, stomped them around the fireplace, and left dirty boot prints on the white carpet leading to the cookies. Took a bite, drank some milk, put out the Santa presents, and went to sleep. The next morning, about 8 a.m., I heard a tremendous squealing and laughing. They dragged me downstairs to show me the footprints in the half-eaten cookie. He's real! He's real! They didn't care about the presents at all. They were caught up in the magic, and that was fine with me. I just love wholesome Christmas stories. I love Christmas in general. All throughout the year, I listen to Christmas music because Christmas music is so good. And this story is so good, and that's sweet, and you should be proud because you gave them something special to remember. This story's called 55 Years of Regret is About to Disappear. I found a men's class ring while metal detecting with my sons. The ring is from a local university and dated 1965 with initials engraved inside the band. I posted about this ring on a Facebook page dedicated to lost class rings around 7 a.m. in the morning. A member of the group researched the JCU yearbook to find his name and then used a People Finder site to get a phone number and messaged me by 7:30. I waited until 8 o'clock to call. A gentleman answered the phone, and I asked for him by name.
"This is he."
"Hi, my name is Mike Gibson, and this may sound a little weird, but I was out metal detecting with my boys this weekend around the Chagrin River and found a class ring." I heard a slight gasp.
"I remember exactly where I lost it. We were climbing the rocks along the river."
I heard joy and disbelief in his voice. I then began to realize this was real. He went on to tell me that he didn't come from a rich family, so the $80 he'd spent on the ring was a lot of money. He did not have the ring very long before losing it.
"It is something that I've regretted my whole life,"
he said. So much so that he bought a replacement ring about 10 years ago. Now I am beginning to realize the opportunity to teach our kids an important life lesson that they will never forget. I asked him if he would mind coming to our house for dinner to get the ring and tell us his story. He agrees immediately.
"That would be great. I would love to meet your kids and tell them my story."
So now we have a set date for our dinner, on Saturday, March 7th. That's the next time we have all of our kids together. Do you mind waiting until then?
"I've waited 55 years. Another week won't kill me."
Stay tuned. And there's no update? I'm assuming he forgot or something? Regardless, that is a very happy story and very cool. I've always wanted to do metal detecting and stuff because you can find some cool junk. And who knows, you might find something sentimental and be able to return it to their original owners, and that would be really cool. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.